Hi friends, welcome back to my channel and today's video. So the Swedish word of the day is gonna be long, which is the Swedish lång. Lång. So today I am going to do an eyeshadow palette collection video. I'm not gonna do a disclaimer because I don't feel like I owe anyone that. What I do want to say is that this is gonna be a long video I mean. And this is just an overview. This is what I have on my makeup table. Oh look, this is my new tattoo because I'm a queen. No, but this is what I have on my makeup table, and here I have some of my favorites. Here I have some palettes that's new that I want to test out, some palettes that I have dragged up from my collection because I want to use them a little bit more. So we are going to go through each and every palette. What I do want to say is that my entire eyeshadow palette collection is cruelty free as of now when I'm filming it, and I'm hoping that it won't change. I do have a lot of eyeshadow palettes. I have this one and then I have 3 more drawers. So why don't we just get started? The first palette that I have right here is a palette that I bought for Black Friday. I need to fix my focus. This is a palette that I bought for Black Friday, right after Black Friday. I was seeing some friends, YouTube friends here, feature it, and I knew that I needed it. So I used this entire winter almost. I really love the shimmers. There's nothing like it on the market. It's just insane. And if you can get this, no, I'm not gonna encourage you to buy anything. I'm just gonna talk about my feelings, and then you can make your own educated decisions about what you need in and want in your collection. This is a palette that I got from Oda's Eye. This is a Swedish brand, but I do want to say that they don't ship from Sweden. So if you are living in Sweden, you do have to pay taxes. I got this in PR, but I still needed to pay taxes. This is what it looks like. It's absolutely gorgeous. I'm gonna lower just so you can see kind of what it really looks like, but I think that this palette is absolutely beautiful. I have used it a handful of times and I think that it performed really nicely. The one thing I will say is that some of the shimmers sort of applies like a Super Shock shadow from like ColourPop, and also it has leaked here, which is a little bit strange. This is the first Natasha Denona Cranberry palette. I do know that she has come out with a new one, that biatch. She did change the formula. This is the cream to powder formula, but she did change the formula now, which I didn't appreciate because I bought the old formula, but I do love the shimmers in this palette. We have the Feral palette from Menagerie Cosmetics. This is what it looks like. Mine doesn't look like everyone else's because I did keep this shadow in. So if you aren't aware, Google it because I don't feel like I have enough time to talk about it here, but I recently pulled this out again. I have to say that I love it. Menagerie doesn't have my favorite quality. They are really powdery, but I still really enjoy their quality or their formula. I have 2 of my favorite 9-pan palettes right here. The first one is the Going Coconuts palette. I know you can't tell because yeah, it doesn't look like it. So this is what it looks like. I would say that this shadow is not really that good. It has so much fallout. It looks like I've really dug in here, but I haven't. And then it's my pleasure. If you are known to my channel, you guys know how much I love the shade Bare Minimum. I'm buying that ASAP if they ever come out with a single. This is like a date shadow for me. I love to do like a super warm crease and pop this one and Earth Shine on my lid. Earth Shine you can purchase as a single. 2 more ColourPop palettes that I love is the Sweet Talk palette. I recently didn't purchase the new Melt palette, the Millennial Pinks, because I felt like the shadows that I wanted from it, I do have in this little story. And I don't use the pressed glitters because fuck those, but the rest of the palette is gorgeous. Well, this one I haven't really used, but I do really like it. And then I love the Flutterby palette. Just look at the packaging. It's so beautiful. I think that this color story is spot on. I actually bought this on a whim and I'm so happy that I did because I do find this palette to be so beautiful. It is a beautiful mauve. story, color story, and it's really, really unique to my collection at least. This is the Blushing Berries palette from Dose of Colors. I have not used this enough. The few times that I have used it, I have really enjoyed it. So I changed the placement a little bit, hope that that is okay. This is the LA Girl Pro Artistry eyeshadow palette. I got this in PR from the brand. So this is what it looks like. It's a very beautiful neutral palette with some grungy tones. I just think that the foils or the shimmers, ooh, I have only used this once in a tutorial that you can find on my Instagram, but I do find this palette to be really beautiful. Some of the shimmers are a little bit stiffer than I would normally prefer, but so far so good. And I think that the mattes performed really good for being drugstore, or really good in general, I would say. In the back we have the Saharan 2 palette from Juvia's Place. This is hands down one of my favorite eyeshadow palettes from Juvia's. I recently used this just a few days ago and I love the looks that I create every single time. This looks beat up. I haven't even used it. I think maybe I've used it once, but I have dropped this palette 2 times and I've just kind of just pressed the shadow back together. So that's the great thing about Juvia's. We have some Anastasia. We have the Norvina palette that is one of my most used Anastasia palettes. Well, you'll see that I use my Anastasia palettes a lot. A lot of my Anastasia palettes looks really beat up because I truly love them. We have, of course, the Jackie Aina palette, and I will say that surprisingly, I thought that I would use this a lot more than I have. I love these 3 tones, especially these 2. I love the shade Sponsored and Ginger. But a lot of the undertones of these shadows are just not really for me. So I did think actually that I was going to use this a lot more, but me. Then we have the Amrezy palette, which I feel like I'm in a honeymoon state with. Sadly, I have hit pan in the shade Barb, and I the other day sat down to Google dupes for it because I cannot be without it. I have also tried to go through my entire collection to see if I have a dupe from it or for it. So if you have any dupes that you know of, let me know. But yeah, I love this color story. The shade Semsa is very close to the shade in the Modern Renaissance palette. And then also I do think that this is a little bit stiffer than the other shadows. This is also the first palette that they included 2 pressed glitters, and I hope that they won't continue with that. We have the Urban Decay Naked Honey palette, and I will say that it was a long time ago since I was this impressed with matte shadows. I find these 2 really blend themselves. Previously, when people have said that, I've been like, what do you mean? Now I know what they mean, and the shade Honey is so beautiful. By the way, if you were wondering what this sort of acrylic thingy is from, it is actually from a Swedish website that is called Coco Panda. So if you're not Swedish, I do apologize for that. We have 2 Natasha Denona palettes. This is my newest one. This is the Love palette. I think I have a tutorial or a get ready with me where I use this that I can link in the corner in case you were interested in it. Now that I'm filming this, I've only used it 2 times, but I do find the quality to be really good. I also have the Sunrise palette that one of my lovely subscribers actually gifted to me. Like, what? This person that gifted this to me, Ellie, has gifted a lot of eyeshadow palettes to me. She's insane. This is a beautiful palette. I love the shade Glory. I love the shade Aster, Poppy, Awakening. I love the shade Morgan. There's just so many beautiful tones. The yellow tones is really nice, especially for like fall. We have the Colored Rain Queen of Hearts palette that Ellie also gifted to me, that Crazy Nut Job. This I recently used as well. Yes, you know, I have my little no buy low buy situation, so I am going through all of my entire eyeshadow palette collection and using the palettes, which is really nice. I think that I slept on this brand too long which is unfortunate, but I'm happy to have this in my collection. And I think that my favorite shade is Royal Highness, which I would never have expected. Never. It's just not, if you're known to my channel, it's just not really a tone that I'm usually that into, but this is beautiful. Then we have the Beauty Creations Elsa palette. I will say that this kind of broke my heart a little bit, and I don't want to be like that, but I actually got this from Christine, a Swedish follower that my heart goes out to so much. I know that she's struggling a little bit, and she's the kind of person that gifted this to me. However, I do find that Beauty Creations doesn't really have my favorite formula. I think that this shade, yeah, this shade is actually really nice. So I do want to continue to use this a lot more, because this, in my personal opinion, dupes out the Natasha Denona Metropolis palette a lot. I think that you have a lot of similar tones in the palettes. So I have used this a couple of times, but I want, or 2 times I think, but I want to continue to use it more. Then we have this gorgeous palette. This is the Alma palette that Amy Hart's Beauty did in collaboration with Amy Loves Makeup. Amy Loves Makeup is one of my favorite people on YouTube, not only content wise but also like personal wise. She's so kind, and I will say that one of my all-time favorite shadows, like when it comes to the mattes, is Bloom, and then this, which is called Inspiration, and then Roman is my favorite shimmer. She named this after her son, and just look at that shadow. It's so beautiful. I love it. I usually reach for this so often when I want to use like something in my inner corner. I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna take Amy's palette. So she did a fantastic job with this palette. We have the Dose of Color Fornication palette. I don't know how many of you have purchased this because of me, but I still love this palette. I think that this is such a gorgeous palette. I recently did a look with it where I used this shade and then this shade, and it created this beautiful like purpley shadow, thanks to Samantha Ravindal. But yeah, I think you can see the dip that I have in this palette. I think that it's gorgeous. The one shade that I don't really use is this one, but I still think that this is a phenomenal palette. And then we have the Natasha Denona Gold palette. This is one of my favorite palettes, or favorite neutral palettes, and you can see that I have a lot of dips in this as well. I do want to use this in conjunction with a lot of my palettes, because a goal of mine last year was to hit pan in this shadow or in this palette, and I didn't do it. And I realized that I probably will never, because they contain so much product. Finally, the last palettes that we have here are my Kaleidos palettes. I have more, but these are the only ones that I have here. So this is my favorite. This is the Astro Pink, and I have actually, what is it called? Glued the shadow names to the back. If I weren't on YouTube, I would just throw them out. So this is what it looks like. I recently did a look with this one as well. There's no words for how much I love Kaleidos. A lot of people I've seen thinks that a lot of people just love them because of the fact that they get them in PR, and sure, some people might lie, but I think the most important thing is to find people that you trust and then go on what they say. And then if you're still unsure, then I wouldn't purchase it. I truly love them. This is the VR Neon palette, and ooh, this one I haven't glued yet, but I love this shade. I used so much this summer. Ooh, look at that. Oh, I just love them. I am so weak for pinks. I also did a beautiful look, in my personal opinion in a way, with all these 5 shadows. I still haven't used the green because I have nowhere to place it. I don't know. The green kind of confuses me. I don't know what to do with it. I did like a super warm crease with these, and then I popped this and this on the lid. So beautiful. And then lastly, the Sci-Fi Green palette that everyone and their mama keeps talking about. Every time I wear this, especially this shade, I get compliments. Not from like you guys, but from people that I meet in my real life. They're like, oh my god, your eyes. Look at that. That is such a beautiful green shadow. They really did it out of the park with the packaging and with the shades, with the quality and everything. So beautiful. So we moved to my first eyeshadow palette drawer, and this is actually the only one I'm gonna show you guys, where we're gonna sit down and go through the drawer together. The other ones I am just gonna sit where I sat before, and that is only because of the fact that where those are, they aren't in the hutches where we are right now. They are in the other side of the room, and that is very echoey in there. So yeah, that's why. Nonetheless, let's dive right on in.
Dive on in.
We have the Ooh La La palette from Colourpop. I think that this was like the first monochromatic eyeshadow palette that they came out with on October 3rd. It's October 3rd. This is what it looks like. This looks a little bit beat up just because of the fact that I actually dropped it when filming, or while filming I should say. Oh my god, now I'm seeing this shade. Let me see if I can turn down the brightness a little bit so you can see. Oh, yes, that's better. Now you can see how it really looks and how the palette really looks. But the shade Poodle and Soft Core was really pretty actually, like beautiful for transition shades. I think I really want to pull this out again and use it, which is why I'm actually doing this video. We have the little Norvina palette. This is the Mini Pro Pigment Palette Volume 2. I got this from my friend Jessica, Stars Hollywood Jessica. She's so sweet. She had an extra and she asked me if I wanted it. This was a little bit broken, but it really doesn't or I don't mind it. So I just swatched the shadow right here because I was really interested in it. It's this one. Interested. Every time I say interested, I'm like, am I saying it wrong? Interested. Sorry. But I haven't used it too much. This is the Dragon Child palette. If you saw my declutter, you actually saw, or my previous declutter that I did a couple of months ago, you saw that I decluttered this. No, I needed to take it back because I just felt like I wasn't really giving it a chance, and I really fuck. Do you see that? Dang, I just put my nail in there. They're so soft, these ones, so you have to be very careful with them. Oh, damn. But I think that this shade Lucky looks so beautiful, and I think it is beautiful. I think that these two shades are really pretty. So I think what I need to do is to try and use this in combination with another palette. And yes, I keep all of my sleeves. I don't know what it is about me. It is something that I love to do. Then we have the Dream Street palette that I currently just fell in love with. I bought this when it launched a long time ago. Haven't used it that much. I bought it for the blues. Hated the blues. I think that they're way too dry. But I think that this palette is gorgeous nowadays when I use it for the neutrals, and so I really like this shade right down here. I think it's beautiful, but then also this one, and this one is so beautiful as well. So yeah, this one I also decluttered in my latest declutter. These are the only two palettes that I pulled back in because I feel like this is, by the way, the BH Cosmetic Festival palette, but what I feel is that I actually want to keep this and declutter the ABH Riviera palette instead, because that palette to me isn't really that great, but I do want to pull this out one time before, and also the Riviera palette I do want to give another test to see if I really want to declutter it, because there is a shade in there that I absolutely love. But this is a gorgeous palette. This is so affordable, and it is way more neutral than you think, but it's also like super great, good quality. So I don't know why I felt the need to declutter it. The next palette that we have right here is the LA Girl Mastery palette. This is also a palette that I got in PR. I have actually not used this one yet. Can't get the plastic off right now, I'm sorry. I don't know if I want to use this. I think that a lot of you guys actually, or some of you actually, said on Instagram that you were interested in me doing a look with this, so let me know if you would like that. Otherwise I will give it away to someone in a giveaway on Instagram or on YouTube now that I'm back, but on Instagram I think it will be. We have the Good Sport palette, which is a beautiful palette from Colourpop. This is such a great palette and color story. The one shade that I don't use, which I've said many times, is this one. It turns up very chalky and super gray on me. I just don't like that shade, but I do love, like, specifically this shade. I've dipped into this so much, as you can see, like I have a huge dip in it, but this is a gorgeous fall palette. We have the Viseart Editorial Brights palette. This is a palette that I'm actually thinking about decluttering, but haven't really decided yet. I think I want to see if I can use it in conjunction with some other palettes that's a little bit more neutral. We have some small palettes right here. We have the Enchanted Secrets from Linda Hallberg. A lot of people say that I mispronounce her name, but no, I'm Swedish and so is Linda. So Linda Hallberg is the way we pronounce it. This is a beautiful palette. This is actually topper shadows, and I like to use these on occasion. Then we have the Honey palette. I know that some people didn't really like this. I don't know why. I loved this palette. I used it so much this summer. It was so fun to just pop on some yellow shadows and then just pop out the door, and you know, it's super quick, it's super easy. But I will say that if you are of a deeper complexion, I don't know how well this would turn up on you. We have some Juvia's Place palettes. We have the Juvia's Place Festival palette. This is a palette that I could consider to declutter, to be honest. I don't use this palette and I don't know what it is. I think that this shadow is really beautiful. I also really like the shade is Safa and Uli, but other than that, like the rest of the shadows, I could live without. I think that this shadow is probably my favorite in the palette. This is the Juvia's Place Tribe palette. This is also a favorite of mine. I love green eyeshadows and this is beautiful, and I also really love the fact that these tones are so different. This one I didn't like when I first saw it, like in pictures, but I think that these two are very unique. This is like a pukey green and this is more of like a goldeny, grungy, orangey shade. I don't know. This one has gotten hard pan, and now that I will spend more time at home, I am going to see if I can fix this palette and my single shades from Makeup Geek. We're gonna get to those later, to see if I can fix the hard pan that I've gotten. We have the Magic palette as well from Juvia's, and this is actually a shadow or a palette that I had recently in my Shop My Stash. I didn't feature it on YouTube or anything, but I did feature some looks on Instagram and I struggled with this. So I asked you guys for your help and I got a lot of help from you guys and looks and everything, so thank you so much. Now I feel like you can use this palette without getting a headache. This is the Be Perfect Carnival palette that they did in collaboration with Stacey Marie. Look at my mirror. I accidentally stepped on this, so I'm gonna have 7 years of bad luck. I think that this palette is so fantastic and I'm so sad that more people aren't talking about it. I am so excited to take this in my Shop My Stash as well. But what I will say, you can do a lot of like neutral looks, you can do a lot of colorful looks, and this shade, oh, it's so beautiful. Not totally sold on the shimmers, but I would say if you wanted to get into colorful makeup but you don't know what kind of palette you would buy, I would buy this one. This is so easy. The one con with it is that it smells like Play-Doh. We have 2 more ColourPop palettes right here. These are actually in their packaging because I haven't used them yet, and with everything that's going on and me stressing about my income or lack of income, when I'm filming this I don't really know what's gonna happen. I don't know, I might get money, but until then I'm gonna wait because I might actually sell this. But I love this shade, I don't like that it's called Woke. This shade, like so many. Ooh, this one, oh, so beautiful. We also have the Lilac You A Lot, same thing here. Haven't used it, don't know if I will. Stressing about money. I would, to be honest, I would sell my entire makeup collection if I could. If I don't have money for food and rent and whatnot. I know I can rebuy it when I have the money again. It would suck and it would break my heart, but I would for sure do it. So this is a palette that I'm thinking might be a dupe for the Barb shade in the ABH palette. So if someone has both palettes and wanted to swatch them like these out for me, you would be very, very appreciated. This is the Beauty Bay Me, Myself, and Mama Mitchell palette. Looks like this on one side and then this on one side. I will say I got this in PR from Beauty Bay and I didn't know that I was going to get it, so I got a package to my door and when I opened it up, I screamed. True story. I was so thankful. Still am. And if you wanted to shop on Beauty Bay, you can always use the links that I have in my description box, because I do earn a small commission, but I don't care really about that. What I care about is the fact that they kind of want to work with me and they notice me if people use that code or those links. This is another Beauty Bay palette. I actually bought this on Black Friday and then my mom came to my house and stole it. No, just kidding, but she fell in love with it, so I gave it to her and I was like, Mom, just take it. But then I, for some reason, repurchased it, but I think that that was last year. I've used this once. I do have a tutorial on it on my Instagram in case you wanted to check it out. I have tutorials with a lot of these palettes on my YouTube. This is the ColourPop Through My Eyes. Yes, Through My Eyes palette. I think that this is beautiful. Oh my god, I was like, what the fuck, do I have pan here? I don't. I have used it a lot, but not that much in order for me to have pan in it. Once again, I'm gonna be very, very repetitive and say that this is a beautiful palette. I love ColourPop shadows, but these are, the shimmers are a little bit different than I'm used to. These are a little bit more glittery. There's a little bit more dimension to especially Muse, Flex, and this shade right here that is called Mesmer Ice. Juvia's Place Deuce palette. Need to use this a lot more. I do have a little bit of a hate and love relationship with this palette. I love this shade right here, this shade, this shade, this shade. But yeah, a little bit of a love-hate relationship with that palette. And then of course we have my palette that I did in collaboration with Blush Tribe that is no longer available. The collab is no longer available, but also the brand is unfortunately shutting down. This is what it looks like. I do have several unused palettes, so I will never go without it. But yeah, I did this palette and I was obsessed with colors like this, and I still use it to this day, but I try not to feature it too much on my channel since it is a limited edition palette and you can't really get it anymore. We have the Illamasqua. This is my only Illamasqua palette, Expressionist palette. I'm not in love with Illamasqua's formula. I think that it is fine and it is okay, but I don't think that it's worth the price tag. We have the Lunar Beauty Moonspell palette. This one was so cheap on Black Friday on Beauty Bay's website, so I had to go ahead and purchase it. I know I keep talking about Black Friday, but that is like where I bought so many palettes and I haven't really felt the need to purchase anything or purchase a lot after that, since I'm still having palettes that's unused. And I feel like this palette is a palette that I haven't really given a lot of chance, but yeah, it's a palette that I want to use more. Let's talk about some ABH on the side here. Of course, we have the Modern Renaissance palette. I think I've had this for many, I don't know, 5 years, 6 years. It's still going strong. This is the only shadow that I have used up. I used it up last year because I really wanted to use up one shade. Really silly, I know, but I feel like it's an accomplishment. I still use this palette to this day. I think it's an amazing palette, so nothing bad about that. We have the Prism palette, and I'm so sorry that these are dirty. I don't take them out too often, so maybe that's why they are a little bit dusty. The formula in this isn't as normal ABH shadows, I would say, especially the shimmers. They are a little bit thicker, they are a little bit more not as soft as other ABH shadows are, so that is mainly why I don't use it. Dimension and Pyramid are like the normal ABH shadows, and maybe Eternal as well, but Osiris, Throne, and Sphinx are not. Then we of course have the controversial Subculture palette. I bought this on launch date. The launch date, my boyfriend bought it for me. Well, I paid for it, but I had to force him to try and help me purchase it because I was on my computer. I was on my 2 computers, by the way, and on my phone. And he was on his phone. No, he had one of my computers. Yeah, anyway, doesn't matter. I love this palette. I don't know what people are complaining about. Yes, it is soft. Use a light hand and you'll be okay. This palette is goals to me. I'm so sad that they have reformulated. I haven't tried the new reformulated shadows, but yeah, this is the palette that kind of made me fall in love with green eyeshadow. So it will always have a place in my heart. This is a face palette, so I don't really know why it's in here. Yeah, this is a face palette, so it has nothing to do with this drawer. Obviously, we have an unused palette from Cruelty that I put in here. I cannot decide. Should I use it? Should I not? Nudes and Rødes. This is what it looks like. This is a cool tone palette, but I think that it's gorgeous. I really do. But again, I can't say anything about the formula because I haven't used it at all. We have the Makeup Revolution NAF palette. I am not someone that loves Makeup Revolution's eyeshadow formula, but I did love the first NAF palette, so I had to go ahead and purchase this one because I felt like this one was so beautiful. I haven't tried it yet. Hopefully someday I'll dig into it. This is the Emme Cosmetics Universal Bomb Shell palette. It is an indie brand. This is what it looks like. I think that shadow is the only one I've used actually. Don't come for me. I know that these are super beautiful. This shadow wasn't really my favorite actually because it wasn't really that intense, but I am very interested to see how the other shadows will perform. Too Faced Sweet Peach palette. Used this the other week and I love it. I think that it's a gorgeous palette. I love this shade Summer Yum and Pure or Puree, but Summer Yum is one of my favorite browns. I think it's gorgeous. It's warm, it's amazeballs, and this shade is also really pretty. Candid Peach. This green is super pretty and it smells delicious. This is the Moon Dust palette from Urban Decay. This is what it looks like. I bought this last year and I asked you guys, should I buy it? And almost everyone said, no, don't buy it. Well, I did and I love it. Hashtag no regrets. We have the Jaclyn Hill Bling Boss palette. This is the only one that I have from the Vault collection. Love Ballsy, Bling Bling, Rockstar. These are just my tones. We have the Yes Please palette from Colourpop. Looks like this. I've never really been this obsessed with a palette. You can see that it's not like super used, but on occasion I love to do like a warm eye and then the yellow on the lid. So keeping. This one Ellie also bought for me, she gifted it to me. This is the Too Faced Gingerbread Spice palette. When I got this, I was obsessed with it. Hot Toddy is, I mean, I'm not kidding. It's insane. Look, you can see that it's like orange, red, pink. It's such a unique shadow. I also really love Fudge Pudding, Gumdrop, and you can do some warm looks with this. You can do so much with this palette. We are gonna drag it on the sides right here. So we have Max Up the Makeup, which is an indie brand, a Sweater Weather palette. This was gifted to me in PR, and this is probably my favorite palette from them. I used this a lot this fall and I was surprised about how much I really liked this. I think that this is a beautiful color story. You have some warmer tones, but then you also have some reds. You have this like plummy burgundy shade. You have the greens. You have these a little bit more cooler tones. You have gold, silvers, like Frosty. Frosty was my obsession. I use this so much. It's a really, really good palette actually. We have the Whale Song palette from Menage Cosmetics. This one I didn't keep the sleeve for because the sleeve was just like blue. No. I have done a YouTube video with this, but I never posted it. Yeah. this shade. I need to drag this out again because I love the shade Kelp, Plankton, Fluke, Pearl. There's so many shades in this palette that I absolutely love, and I think that this would pair so well with... No, I think you could use this alone and still get a colorful look, but not a look that would scream at you or come at you. Which is sort of my thing currently. Sorry for all of my colorful lovers, but I'm more into toned down colorful looks. Smoke Sessions palette, which was also a gift from a lovely subscriber from Melt Cosmetics. This is my only Melt palette. This is what it looks like. She actually gifted hers. This was a palette that she had used very, very slightly and very, very gentle. But when it arrived to me, the shadows, like the shimmer shadows, had almost like lifted. So what I needed to do was just kind of press them down with my finger, and I have had zero issue with them. Think that they are gorgeous. I absolutely think that this is a palette you buy for the shimmers, obviously. So moving on, let's take another indie brand. This is the Iconic Couture palette from Milan Røde. This palette surprised me. This palette surprised me so much. I knew that they were sending it to me, but I didn't have any hopes for it because I'd never tried the brand. Yeah, right. Some shadows had actually broken, but I did just press them together or down again with my finger. This is one of the shadows that broke, and this is like Subculture Kick Up, just so you guys know, which is why I kept the sleeve. But the other shadows, they have a lot of kick up, but not as much. But the shimmers are out of this world. They are so intense, and they are different formulas, which I also love, that they don't have the same sort of formula. So if you were eyeing this palette, I would definitely go ahead and pick it up. When I saw this first, I thought that this was an ABH palette. When I saw it on Trend Mood or Indie Makeup Spotlight, I can't remember. This is a Pixie palette. I think that this is the only Pixie palette that I got. And I got this in PR, the one and only PR package I've gotten from Pixie. You know, I've been wanting to be on Pixie's PR list for the longest time, just because I think that the brand is a little bit expensive. But I got one PR package and I'm really thankful for that. Then I think the Swedes took me off, but it's fine. This is the Lemonade palette from Dominique Cosmetics. I don't love the shimmers, but I do love her mattes. I think that they are gorgeous, and I love to do like a super warm smoky eye, put chai tea all over my lid, and then these two in my T-zone. T-zone? No, in my crease. Gosh, I can't speak. We have the Stila Happy Hour palette, I think that this is called. This is heavy. Yes, Happy Hour palette. This is what it looks like. I keep this for the shimmers because the mattes, once again, I did a YouTube video with it. I edited it. Sorry, I can't say that word. I did edit it, but I never posted it. I know I'm a bad YouTuber, but this is a super cool tone palette that is gorgeous. We have the Sigma Viper palette. This one I could declutter actually, but I'm gonna keep it for a little while. We have an unused palette here from BH Cosmetics that I will declutter actually. This is the It's My Ray Ray palette. This is what it looks like. She is unused, and I was so surprised. I bought this on Black Friday once again. Last year I got it, and I was surprised about how small it is. I thought that this was a cute palette just because you could do some really fun looks with it, but I don't think I'm going to use it. So I am going to declutter this one. Last palette in this drawer is my Nabla Poison Garden palette. Very, very controversial review that I did on it. Some people ask why I kept it. I wanted to give it another chance. I still wouldn't touch the blues because they are horrible. They are the worst blues you could ever find, and I do think that Nabla's formula is a little bit overhyped. I feel like a lot of people that's on their PR list are like, you can kind of tell that they want to stay on the PR list, so they gush and gush about them. I think that the formula is fine. I think it's okay. The shimmers are pretty, but some of the shades in this palette are horrible. They're the worst. So I'm just gonna change location, and then we'll continue with my eyeshadow palette collection video. Okay, so I whipped up the rest of my palettes. I know there's There's a few. First off, this is a palette that I will declutter. I zoomed you guys in a little bit because it's easier. So this is just, I'm just gonna open it. This is what it looks like. This is actually from W7 and it's obviously a dupe for the Too Faced one that they came out with. I think, do I want to declutter this? I might want to do like a video on this, but I have so many eyeshadow palettes, so I'm gonna declutter it. I tried to think, will I use this? Yes, I could do a video on it, but after I've done a video on it, will I use it? And the answer is probably no, because it's not unique enough. This is actually from Primark. Look, this is so cute. I got this from Jessica, or Jessica, like we say in Sweden. I think that this is so cute. Her mom was there and was going to purchase some makeup for Jessica on or in Primark, and she thought of me. So I mean, this shadow right here is so pretty. Haven't used it yet, but I'm going to. I have plenty of time. This is my oldest Anastasia palette. This is the Shadow Couture palette, I think it is. Yes. So this is what mine looks like. Pink champagne, staple. Don't use it anymore, however. Aurora Lights palette. This is from BH Cosmetics. Looks like this. This is a gorgeous palette. It has 3 different formulas, so I think the ones on the top right here are toppers. I can never remember. These are foiled and then these are something else. I don't remember, but you can go on their website and look at it, but I prefer these 2 rows only. But if I'm gonna use these, I take this and then I take a topper on top of it. This is nothing fun, just 2 singles from, I think they are from Makeup Geek. Yeah, Makeup Geek. No, was this Colourpop? Whoop. Yeah, this is Colourpop, but I think this is Makeup Geek. Yes, this is Makeup Geek. This is a duochrome. Looks disgusting, I know. These are Give Me Glow shadows that I actually also got gifted because Give Me Glow states on their website that they ship worldwide. Well, they don't. And I just gotta say, this shade, obviously, and then I really like this as well. Looks like that. I mean, come the freak on. So, oh, I just came. This is the Fall Fusion palette from Blush Tribe. They said that they were going to relaunch this palette this fall, but obviously with the brand closing, they are not. This is what the palette looks like. They actually named this shadow after me, which I thought was really sweet. But I like the palette. I think that the, what is it? The yellow is trash. I don't like it. Especially you cannot pack it on your lid because it just kind of falls off. You can stick it if you use like a concealer that you haven't set on your base or something, but nonetheless, it's no longer available. This is the Just My Luck palette from Colourpop. Whoop, looks like this. Oh, this is also a palette that I want to pull out again. I really love the shade Mary Jane, but then I also feel like this shade is super beautiful, and I think you could even do like a look. I like to do looks with 2 shimmers, so I like to take one, you know, in the center of my eye that meets the deepest matte, and then a lighter one on my lid. I like that just because of the fact that it opens up my eye a little bit more to have like a lighter shade closer to my eye, or closer to my, you know, in the beginning of my eye, fuck it, whatever. But I think that these 2 would pair really well together. Haven't used this palette as much as I want to because it is very blue based. The greens are very blue based. These ones, I mean, I feel like this could have even been in the Mint to Be palette, but I digress, like Teresa Stead always says. This is my Inglot palette. These are obviously not only Inglot shadows. These reds right here are from Inglot, and then these 2 are from Minari Cosmetics. I do want to take them out because I actually really like these 2 mattes, and I don't like the, I'm gonna do it now because I never do it. I don't know what it is about me, but I just, this teal shade, it has nothing to do with this teal shade. I just don't like teals. I never use them. So this is how my Minari Cosmetics palette looks right now. I think that it's prettier and I'm happy. So yeah, here I have some Makeup Geek, Minari Cosmetics. I think this is ColourPop. And then, whoops. And then this one is from Nabla. Here we have some more Makeup Geek. This, I have actually included some ColourPop shadows as well. I think the red, this one, I think these three or this green as well is ColourPop, but I think the rest of it is Makeup Geek. So I think you can see what I mean. Like right here I have gotten hard pan and I've tried to scrape it off. So I think I'm just gonna take tape and see if I can remove that. And if I cannot, it's time for me to declutter the shades that's gone bad. But I really hope that they are still going strong because I love my Makeup Geek shadows. Sorry, I'm out of frame. I love my Makeup Geek shadows and I do want to pull this one out and use it way more. We have the e.l.f. J Kissa palette. This wasn't available, like a lot of e.l.f. products aren't. This wasn't available for us in Sweden. I really wanted this and I want so much from e.l.f. But we get 0 products here in Sweden. So this is what it looks like. I mainly wanted it to support J Kissa. I still haven't used it, but I'm gonna change it to another drawer so that I can use it now because it's pretty. This is the Creepy Cute palette from Strobe Cosmetics. My black shadow actually broke because the magnet is so hard. They recently changed the name to Shroud Cosmetics, which I hate. I don't understand why they do it. This is a phenomenal palette. I would say if you love pastels, I would purchase this one, hands down. The shadows, I've explained it like they apply to the lid like a red carpet would do. If you think about like how elegant a red carpet is, it's the exact same way like these apply. They're so amazing, but I am always holding my thumb here right now so the magnet won't break any other shadows because it is so strong. So just a little tip from me. This is the Nubian 2 palette from Juvia's. I have pulled it out way more now because this is a little bit more my color story. Jezebel is a beautiful shadow. It doesn't look like it, but it is a beautiful plummy purple. As you can see, this is my shade. I love it. I love the green. The blue is nice. Suri is nice. There's a bunch of great shadows in this palette. This palette I only keep for sentimental value. This is the Galaxy Cheek palette from BH Cosmetics. I only keep this because this is my boyfriend's favorite palette. But I'm keeping this only for sentimental value. This is an empty palette, so I'm just gonna move it to the sides. This palette, this is from Amy Hart's Beauty. I don't know about this palette. This is what it looks like. I think it's gorgeous, but I thought it was okay and not much more. She has changed up her formula on the mattes. They are a little bit more powdery now, or a lot more powdery now. But yeah, I've only used this one, so I mean, how much can I say? We have my first purchase on Sephora. This is the Chocolate Bar palette from Too Faced, not going anywhere. Not that this is a declutter video. So sorry. I think I didn't know what I was doing when I purchased this palette because this has never really been my type of color story. Yes, I love this shade and this shade, but I had just gotten into makeup and I only purchased what people said were good. So this is the Certified Tropical Wonders palette. This is a neutral, no, it's a rainbow palette. It's beautiful. I know so many people who loves this. Certify has a pretty dry formula. Their formula is a little bit of a subculture, but not as powdery, but they do contain a lot of like kick up, and the palettes does get a lot of messy. But I love their formula. I think they have an amazing formula, so yeah. And then I also have the Dynasty palette, which the shimmers, in my personal opinion, are very meh. They aren't fantastic, but I do love this color story in this palette because I feel like there's so many things you can do with it. So that's neat. We have the Colored Rain Vivid Pigments palette. This is a palette I wouldn't declutter ever. Doesn't matter if I were to hate color, because I feel like this palette is such a great palette to have. This and the VCR palette and the Certified palette, because then I feel like it would have all of the tones in color that I need if I wanted to do like a super colorful look or just add in a little bit of color. We have some Morphe palettes here that we're gonna dive into. This is the Artistry palette. What did it say? Artistry palette. 35. Okay, maybe it says so on everyone. This is the 35M, 35 Boss Mood palette. This is what it looks like. I think that this is gorgeous. I bought it for the greens because I thought that the greens were so unique. They're a little bit, especially these two, are a little bit more pukey. As you can see, I've used this one. You can see that they're pretty stiff, but they work, and it's a beautiful palette. Yeah, it's a beautiful palette. And I used this a lot when the Natasha Denona Metropolis palette came out because I kind of didn't want to purchase the Natasha Denona palette when I felt like I had the tones, so I didn't. Jaclyn Hill palette, very controversial palette right now. This is the older formula, so I know that I have the like OG formula. This is what mine looks like. I never really fell that deep in love with it that I know that a lot of other people have, but I do think that it's a phenomenal palette, and I really love the tones right up here and then some of the browns. I do feel like this especially is way too stiff, and also this one, but it has some beautiful greens as well, and yeah, it's cute. This is so big. This is the reason why I did not purchase the James Charles palette. No, I'm kidding. You guys told me not to purchase it, so I didn't. I didn't know that James Charles was controversial. Now I do. This is very, very big, and I bought this because Atlee raved about this all the time for months and months and months and months. I think that it's good, but the reason why I don't use it is, you can see, it's pretty big. And I also feel like they didn't need to include both of these and like all of these four. I don't get it. Morphe, Morphe, Morphe. You could do so much more. We have the Hasina palette from Blush Tribe. I don't know what to do with these now when the brand is no longer available. Obviously, I'm gonna keep this because I think it's gorgeous. But I don't know if you guys still wanna hear about the brand. I don't know. This palette is just shadows that when I've said it before, but when I did my collab with Blush Tribe, there were some shades that I might consider to put in the palette. Obviously, I could feature them now because they are never gonna be in the palette again, but then again, maybe you think that I made the wrong choices if I did. This is the NYX palette. This is the Brights palette. I only keep this so that if I ever were to do like a NYX video or something, this is why I keep it. This is the Avocado palette from Makeup Revolution or iHeart Revolution. This is bomb. It actually really is. This is the other palette from them that I actually like. It's great actually. I was so surprised because I didn't have high hopes for this. I mainly bought it for the packaging. This is the Hasina 2 palette. This is the beautiful owner Salma. Obviously, she has a place in my heart because we worked together and she was so kind throughout the process. This is what it looks like. I think that this palette is so beautiful. I don't use it enough, however, which is a shame, but I would not declutter it, especially not right now. Maybe in the future, but hopefully never. Carity Rosé All Day is also a unused palette. So pretty. I mean, come on. Come on, I don't know what to say. I think that this is perfect. The reason why I don't have, or why I haven't used it, is because I've heard that it isn't very nice, or the quality isn't very good, so I'm going to look at some reviews and then kind of decide if I want to keep them or not. This is the Emily the Wants palette with Makeup Revolution. Did not love this palette, but I don't think it's a bad palette, but the problem is that right now I feel like, I don't think it's a fantastic palette because I don't, but there were some shades in the palette that was good, some shadows that wasn't really good. But now I feel like a lot of them has gotten the famous Makeup Revolution hard pan, and I'm not about the hard pan life, so W7 Seduced, dupe of the Sultry palette, unused. I'm gonna keep this because I am eyeing the Sultry palette. Oh, I have crap on my nail, sorry. I am eyeing the Sultry palette, and since I'm forced into a no buy, I want to keep this in case so I don't end up purchasing it. This is the Blue Moon palette from Colourpop. You guys know, not a favorite in my collection. I did not like this. I thought that the shimmers were way too meh. They have done some amazing shimmers, and I felt like these weren't it. So I am going to declutter this one. We have 2 palettes from Max Up the Makeup. This is the Røde Set Summer palette that I haven't used. If I haven't used it this summer, I do want to use it this summer, but if I don't use it this summer, I will let this one go to one of you guys. And then we also have the Flower Child palette, which was their first ever palette. This is really, really cute. I love the packaging. It's like very hippie. And Max, when he started his brand, was only 16, which is insane. When I was 16, I was drinking beer, having sex, and not doing things you should be talking about on YouTube. This is the Riviera palette from Untitled Beverly Hills. I will give this one more chance because I think there's some beautiful tones in this palette, and there's some shades that I really, really like. Palomero is one of them, Monte Carlo, Coastline. There's so many shadows in this palette, like seashells, Mediterranean, which I feel kind of dupes out the vibe that Carly has with her palette, but so yeah, I do want to use it. We have the Blush Tribe Pastel Tribe palette that I have done an Instagram look with. This is what it looks like. Oh my god, it looks almost unused. I don't remember what I thought about it, but this shade, let me just... That looked really nice. It looked like it had a lot of dimension to it. Cute. It's cute. We have an unused palette. This is the Alien Cosmetics palette. This is a subscriber gift. So pretty. I really think Karina, Come to Mama, Rhea, Come Here, Neptune, just come right on over, bitch. We have the Morphe. I don't know what this is called. This is a Morphe palette in a way. This is the Pride palette. I recently eyed this the other day, and once again, I need to get the hard pan off this shade, but this shade made my entire summer. I'm not kidding you. This shadow, I used it so much. I loved it. It was amazing, amazing. I do want to pull this out for spring and summer. Oh, I could let this one go. This is also from Makeup Revolution. This is Foiled Frenzy. I know that Make Me Up Missa did a beautiful look with this palette, which is why I bought it. We have my 2 other Kaleidos palette. This is the Cyber Bronze palette, and this is so unique to my collection because I don't have a shimmery red like this. I feel like a lot of reds that I have pull either pink or orange, mostly pink. But this one is a true metallic red, and let me tell you that I have been looking for one for years and years. So I would never, ever let this one go. Also, I love the browns and tones of this. I do use this on occasion, so the silver is bomb. But the uniqueness is the red. And I love the fact that they did it like a super true red shade. This is probably my least favorite. This is the Electro Turquoise palette, and it is because the tones right here isn't really my cup of tea. I love these 3, but the rest of them, oh, this one as well. Why? Oh, now that I'm looking at it, if I only did this, I would do some not that one, but if I did like this, I feel so differently about it. Oof, look at that. Yes, so need to use this one. As you can see, there's so many shadows or palettes I want to use, so buying more doesn't make a lot of sense for me. This is the Nath palette that I talked about before that I liked. Again, this is one of the only Makeup Revolution palettes that I like, but now I've gone through my collection and I realized there is a few. I am going to declutter the Lila 2 palette. This is unused and it's only greens. Oh, but this shade, Maria though, and Iman and Fatea and Cherish. Ooh, now I'm unsure. But I actually feel like I can let this one go, and I will send this to someone of you guys. This is also a palette that I'm keeping for sentimental value. When me and Niklas, like 5 years ago, celebrated our first year anniversary, we went to London and I bought this in Boots, I think it was, or some store anyway, and this, I mean, this cannot be used, so I'm mainly keeping it for sentimental value, or only keeping it for that because it makes me happy. And it's my first ever green palette. We have the W7 24 Gold Rush palette, which is a dupe for the Natasha Denona Gold palette. This is bomb. This surprised the hell out of me. This is really, really good. And it dupes out the shimmers that is the most intense and beautiful about it. Like the Natasha Denona Gold palette, I bought it for the shimmers, hands down. And this, they dupe the formula, they dupe everything about it. I don't know how they did it for the cheap price that they did. So if you were eyeing the Natasha Denona Gold palette and don't have the money or don't want to spend that much money on an eyeshadow palette, I would get this one. This is my Coastal Scents Shadows, and this is also a palette that I need to use way more, which maybe I should stop saying. Michelou palette. Don't buy this from this brand. They are shady. No, but I think that they are a little bit shady actually. I think that they're strange. This is trash. Let me just swatch with a clean finger this and just... yeah. I did a video where I compared this that I bought myself. They saw my review, they said, we have reformulated. There wasn't any problem with it, but we saw your video, but we have reformulated. Even though we have 100% happy customers, except for you, but we did reformulate and hear what you said, even though you were wrong. We can send you the new palette if you want to. I said yes, I did a comparison on it. There were no difference. There was the same batch code, everything. It performed the same. So I sent it to one of you guys who really wanted the palette, but didn't want to support the brand. And I was like, you know what, you can have my PR palette. That was a little bit more fresh as well than the one that I kept because I've used it. This is the Zulu palette from Juvia's. This we don't need to look at because this is my palette, but only in singles. This is the first palette that I ever got from a subscriber. This is the Matte for Matte eyeshadow palette, Jewel Pop from e.l.f. Oh, fuck. I wanted this so much, but again, e.l.f. Sweden, no, we don't get anything to Sweden, and I like it. I think that it's a really cute palette, and you do get those grungier tones that's so pretty. Too Faced Razzle Dazzle palette. The shadows, like the shimmers, are such a squishy formula. I like them, but it's interesting. Like, I think they're fun. Now we're coming into the last ones. This is the Makeup Obsession London Calling. I bought this on Black Friday. Sorry for mentioning Black Friday again. Still haven't used it. I don't know if I want to actually, because I feel like I hate Makeup Obsession's formula so much, especially after the Sweet Like palette that I tried. I just, to my every core. Last up is just single eyeshadows. Ooh, this is mostly ColourPop. I would say 99%. I think that all of them are ColourPop except this one that is Morphe, and then back in the days when Morphe had singles, and these are Makeup Geek. So yeah, that's my makeup collection. I was actually planning to declutter way more. Maybe I'm just not in the declutter mode, I don't know. But I did declutter 3. I think these are the only 3 that I decluttered. But I promise you guys, when I get in my declutter mode, I declutter a lot. But I hope you liked this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you did not enjoy it, give it a thumbs down. Don't forget to subscribe to me if you want to, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!